안녕하세요. 컴업 2022에 함께해 주신 여러분 환영합니다. 저는 오늘 사회를 맡은 샤오미 엑셀러레이터 코리아의 박지민 대표입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 어제 이어 오늘 컴업 2022 세 번째 날도 퓨처 토크로 문을 열겠습니다. 시작하기에 앞서서 이번 세션은 영어로 발표가 진행이 됩니다. 따라서 저기 객석 뒤에 보시면은 통역 리시버가 준비되어 있습니다. 혹시나 영어가 조금 이해하기 어려우신 분들께서는 통역 리시버를 이제 소지하셔서 좀 본 세션에 참가해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 퓨처 토크는 스타트업의 성장 전략과 생태계 혁신이 가져올 우리의 미래에 대해 창업가와 전문가의 토론 및 질의응답을 통해 직접 확인하실 수 있는 자리입니다. 그럼 지금부터 퓨처 토크를 시작하겠습니다. 그 첫 번째 시작은 긴 겨울의 끝은 어디인가? 글로벌 스타트업 아이스 에이지라는 주제로 매그너스 그라임랜드 님께서 진행해 주시겠습니다. 그럼 매그너스 그라임랜드 매니징 파트너 오브 안틀러 님을 무대 위로 모시겠습니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you. All right. Hi. Good morning. There's some seats over here if people want to sit. Great to see you all. I just came in from the US. Great to be here. Great to be back in Korea. I'm going to share some learnings from my journey building my own businesses. I've been building a few businesses myself, and then obviously through Antler we looked at more than 150,000 founders and helped build more than 600 companies over the last few years. I'm going to share whatever learnings I made on that journey, and hopefully that's somewhat helpful to you. And at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do here in Korea, where we really want to back great entrepreneurs like many of you to build the next great companies in the region. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to start off by showing you a quick video, a little bit about Antler. So let's see if we can make this work. I got to go back. Perhaps I click this.
Progress. We've come so far, so fast in our modern world, it almost seems automatic. But big and transformational change doesn't just happen. It all starts with people. People with passion who see a better way forward, who pursue ideas others don't see, who will keep going no matter what. Antler connects and invests in the most driven founders anywhere. People with their first big idea, or serial entrepreneurs building their next big thing. People looking for exceptional co-founders, or established teams looking to scale. People from any background, and from anywhere. Whoever they are, our global community of founders, experts, and investors helps them scale faster, and we keep backing them from day zero to greatness. Because progress doesn't just happen. It starts with the people who make it inevitable.
All right. So that's a bit about Antler. I'll share a little bit more about what we do after. Starting off perhaps with my own journey. So I started my career in Norway. So I grew up in the countryside in the middle of nowhere. That's actually where I grew up. And then I ended up going to high school at United World Colleges. It's a collection of people all across the globe in Wales. Before serving in the military, so I was in the Norwegian Naval Special Forces for a few years before going to Harvard for college. At Harvard, it's actually where I built my first company, which was a smaller tech company. It was actually a social network, which didn't end up becoming as big as Facebook. But Facebook was started at campus at the same time, which obviously now has expanded all across the globe. After Harvard, I went to McKinsey, which brought me here to the region. I left McKinsey to set up Zalora. Zalora, you might not have heard about it in Korea, but in Southeast Asia, it's Southeast Asia's largest fashion e-commerce business. So we sold clothes to tens of millions of customers all across Southeast Asia. We also sold a lot of Korean fashion, which is actually what brought me to Korea for the first time. And we sold that business in 2015. And and then I started Antler. So basically, throughout this journey, over the last 20 years, I've been working on building companies. If you look about Antler then, Antler is present all across the globe. So we started off in Asia, launched in Asia, and then expanded to what we think are some of the most exciting ecosystems in the world in terms of innovation. We believe founders are global, ideas are global, innovation is global, capital is global, and we want to be in all of these locations, supporting great entrepreneurs, building the next great company. And we just launched in Seoul, it's about a year ago now, and we're really here to back and support and invest into the next generation great companies here in Seoul. So we also launched in South Korea. Throughout this journey, we looked at about 150,000 founders. What makes Antler a little bit special is we don't look for companies, we look for founders. So we look for people, and we back great people. We selected 5,000 of the 150,000 founders to help build about 600 new companies. And our failure rate in terms of supporting this business is very low. So typically when we end up backing a business, when we end up backing a founder, they tend to become successful. This is our process. So we select the best founders. We work in the beginning with helping to build a great team, help validate the business model. Then we invest the first capital. And then we continue to invest into the companies we back all the way up till Series C. So we can put up to $20 million into each of the companies that we back over a series of multiple investments. And then we also introduce to other great VCs. So on top of us investing, we get other VCs on board to help invest into the subsequent rounds. So the only round we lead is the first one, and then we work with all the best Korean and global VCs to lead the subsequent rounds. So that's the Antler process. So it starts with people who want to build a new business. We work with people all across the globe. These are just some of them. This is from Singapore, from Stockholm, from the US. So all across the globe we do this, and we have the pleasure of working with now more than 5,000 people. So why is now the best time ever to build a company? Well, so the first reason is we are just after a peak, right? So if you think about technology valuations, 2020, 2021, highest level ever. Now it's gone down to a reasonable level, which means that now is the time that you want to build. If you look historically, just after the financial crisis, just after the dot-com crisis, just after the banking crisis, the best new companies were started. And now we're just after a peak, so it's a great time to get started building a business. And for the people who are investing in tech, it's the best time to invest. The other reason why now is a great time is we live in a truly global world for the first time. Right? So the world is truly global for the first time. The bad side of this we saw through COVID, right? Like somebody got COVID in China and then everyone in the world gets COVID. That's the bad side of that. The good part of that is you can serve the world from anywhere, and you can build an incredible business anywhere and serve the whole world. So to make an example, take the airline industry. If you go 100 years back in time and you had the first person who flew on an airline, how long from the first person flew until you had 50 million people flying in an airline? Anyone think? Like, how long until the airline industry got 50 million customers? Anyone want to guess? Somebody guess. How long time until the airline industry got 50 million customers? 10 years? 68 years. So it took almost 70 years for the airline industry to get 50 million customers. How long time did it take Pokemon Go? How long time to get 50 million customers for Pokemon Go? Huh? 1 week, yeah. No, 13 days, yes. 13 days. It took Twitter a year. You can build a B2B business, a B2C business from anywhere these days, and you have the whole world as your potential customers. And this, I think, is a huge opportunity in Korea, because so far a lot of Korean tech companies, especially on the internet software side, has been Korea-focused. But if you focused on attacking the world, it's such a huge opportunity, right? Look at Spotify out of Stockholm. Out of Stockholm, there's 5 million people in Stockholm. Oh, sorry, 8 million people in all of Sweden, 1 million people in Stockholm. Spotify, built there. They won against Apple, right? $3 trillion company. You go to Sydney, tiny city. They won against Microsoft, building Atlassian. You can build and you can beat any company from anywhere. So it's a great time right now to build a business. Second is new technologies. You used to go back in time, go to the Stone Age, go 2,000 years back in time, or 10,000 years back in time, and like one discovery would influence like hundreds of years of human evolution. Now you have dozens of technology maturing at the same time. You have AI, blockchain, biotechnology, genome technology, IoT, nanotechnology, so many exciting technologies maturing at the same time that you can use to solve new problems. Never happened ever before. Low cost of building businesses. Like a few of us, we can get together tonight, build a business, launch it on the cloud through the App Store, serve the whole world. It will cost us a few $100s. When we were building Solora, it took us, millions of dollars to launch a new market, because we had to build server parks, APIs, then we had to build server parks, logistic networks, payment systems, all this type of stuff. Now we can plug into APIs. So the cost of building businesses has gone down, which has led to incredible disruption. So now is the best time ever to build a business. Not last year, not the year before, but now. So good time for you to be here. The other thing is, the world has kind of been improving steadily over the last decades, right? So there's this feeling that progress is inevitable. But progress doesn't really happen unless somebody like you decides to go out there and solve an important problem. There are so many big problems out there that need to be solved. So I think anyone here who has a tremendous skill set should use that to either invest into or help build a great business around solving an important problem. It's a societal obligation, which is why it's exciting to see so many of you here early on a Friday. At the same time, startups keep failing, right? Like, what share of startups fail, anyone think? On a global basis, if you think at every single startup in the world, how many of them fail? 95? 93, 99, 98. It's around 95. Yeah, 95% of all startups fail. Which is just stupid, because they fail for very simple reasons that typically can be avoided. It's not that hard to avoid, I think, 80 to 90% of failures. That is what I want to share a little bit about. So like one is, it starts with a great founder. So all of you need to think about what would make you a great founder if you're building a business. If you're investing into business, think about what will make you a great investor. But if you want to be a great founder, you need to think about what will make you a great founder. And there are three things that stands out in incredible founders. Number one is great founders have a clear spike or a strength. There's something that they are incredibly great at. It could be that they're great at coding, or it could be that when other people go out and party on Friday nights, they go back and they work on solving an important problem. Or it could be that they're very deep in a specific industry. Or it could be that they're the type of person who walk into an elevator with 12 strangers, and then when the elevator hits the bottom floor, they're friends with everyone. So they're like the perfect salesperson. Could be anything, but they need to have something within them that they're better at than most other people. And once you identify what that is, you hone that skill set and you use that skill set to succeed in building a business. That's number one in a great founder. You need a spike. Number two is you need drive. So drive is a combination of two things. It's a combination of ambition and passion, and the ability to execute. So if you look at an amazing founder, you will see that they're so into what they're building. Like they talk about it all the time, think about it all the time, dream about it all the time, because they're so kind of into what they're trying to accomplish. And drive is that. It's a combination of being very ambitious and passionate about solving something, but also having shown the ability to execute. And the third thing a great founder has is grit. That's why I showed the picture of Elon Musk here, because he's a very gritty founder. What it means is, for him, failure is not an option. And if you think about any great founder you know that has been very successful, I was listening to the Coupang, you know Coupang here in Korea, the Coupang story. So many times they were hitting the head in the wall, struggling, nothing happening, moving very slowly. Elon Musk, how many times didn't he blow up the SpaceX rockets? Or Tesla went bankrupt almost 5 times. He succeeded partly because he didn't give up. Like other founders might have given up on the way, and sometimes founders just fail because they give up, and not because they wouldn't have succeeded if they persisted. So great founders have spike, drive, and grit. And the great thing with all of them is they can all be taught. Like this is not something you're born with. You can build a better spike, you can build more drive, you can build more grit. So that's you as a great founder. So okay, so then you have a great founder. Then you need to find some co-founders. That's one of the things Antler help a lot with, by the way. Like we really help with access to a lot of great co-founders. But whether you're working with Antler or you're working on your own, spend real time trying to find the best people around you that you could possibly build this business with, that shares your values, your passion, your vision, and preferably have a different spike or a different strength than you. And I think you should talk to like 20, 30 people. Don't just pick your roommate. Don't just pick your brother or sister. Don't just pick someone you worked with. Try to meet 20, 30 people you think are really impressive and pick the best one. Like spend real time putting together a great co-founding team because you're stuck with them, right? Like getting a co-founder is a bit like getting married, really. Like, you're stuck in that relationship for a long time. You're going to go through a lot of really hard things. So spend real time looking at a lot of different people before you decide who you're going to build your team with. And then the second thing is then solve a real problem, right? There are so many amazing teams out there that are not working on the wrong thing. And if you're working on solving something or building something which is not really a problem or people won't use, then you're wasting your time. But if you get these 3 things right, you will succeed. You reduce the failure rate to about 10%. You reduce the failure rate to about 10 to 20%. And if you have a great team working on the right thing, the only thing that can stop you is like crazy things. Like perhaps you get a meteor in your head, or perhaps Google decides to spend $3 billion building exactly the same thing you do, exactly at the same time in exactly the same market, right? But you want that to be the reason why you fail, not because you are not a great founder, not because you haven't built a great team, and not because you're not solving a real problem. And that's really what we focus on in Antler. A few more tips, right? So number 1 is front loading. So when you're building a new business, the time you have available to you right now is way more important than the time that you have available to yourself in the future. So, for example, when I was in the process of setting up Antler, what do you think happened with Antler when I went on vacation? Like, what happened with Antler when I went on vacation in the really early days? Anyone? Nothing, right? Because it was only me. So when I went on vacation, nothing happened. When I was watching Netflix, nothing happened. If I went out drinking and woke up the morning a little bit hangover, nothing happened. And that's how it is when you build a business. The business is fully dependent on you. So the early days of building a business, the time you have available to you is incredibly important. So then after time, you will start hiring people. you will start building a team. So 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years into the future, your time doesn't matter that much anymore, right? So then you can take it a bit easier if you want to. Most founders continue to work very hard. But I would encourage you to put in a lot of time in the beginning to create that early momentum, because it's only you. So that's what I mean with front loading. Like, exchange time today for time in the morning to create that early momentum, because momentum creates momentum. Once you have that first customer, once you have that first product, the first investor, the flywheel starts spinning. But if you are taking things easy, you will never get there. So that's number one learning, is front load. Number two is learn how to hustle, right? I think in Korea, it's a bit similar as in Norway. You shouldn't think that you're necessarily better than anyone else. You don't necessarily try to be too imposing. It was very hard for me to learn sales or learn to hustle, because when people said no to me, I would just say, okay, and then I'd walk away. But if you're building a business, you can't accept no's. You need to convert no's into yeses. Because in the beginning, all your customers will say no, all your investors will say no, all the people you try to hire will say no, because you're nothing yet, right? So you need to learn to hustle, where you convert no's into yeses, or you meet more people and get more no's, and then some of them becomes yeses. So that's very important. Some of you are natural hustlers, right? You're just born that way. You probably all have friends like this, who can, like, get you in front of any line, get you into any nightclub, get you into, convince anyone to buy anything from you. Like, there are people who are naturally like this. I'm not like that. But as a founder, you need to learn that skill set. It's very important. How many here has built a business before or are part of building a business? Raise your hand, anyone. How many here are building a business or been part of building a business? Yeah, it's quite a few. You used to getting no's? You get some no's now and then? Or does everyone say yes? Yeah, there's a lot of no's, right? So as a founder, you need to learn to convert those no's into yeses. And that's what I call hustle. The second thing is this thing around what I spoke about with regards to Elon Musk, right? Is you need to go into building a new business with this mindset that failure is not an option, right? You can't go in there and think about the founding journey as a learning opportunity, right? I'm not saying failure is wrong. It's okay to fail. All of us has failed at something. It's okay to fail, and then you learn from that, and then you try again. But when you try again, you need to go in there with that mindset that I'm going to succeed no matter what. And when the going gets tough, when you hit that wall, when your company almost goes bankrupt, or you're not able to raise capital, or all the customers are saying no, you go into that inner resource where in your mind you store this belief that I'm going to succeed no matter what. And you go into this opportunity as failure is not an option. And I'm not entirely sure how you yourself kind of create that mindset, but for me, what works very well is to create social pressure, right? So, when I was building Antler and building Solora, I told everyone about it. I told everyone about what I was going to do, what I was going to achieve. I pulled in so many people, all my friends, a lot of people I've been working with invested into the company. I created this incredible social pressure, which then led to the barrier to not succeeding being much higher. I'm not sure how you yourself will kind of work on that, but it could be meditation, it could be that you watch motivating videos, it could be whatever it is, but you need to go into building your next business with the mindset that failure is not an option. Because if you go in there thinking that it might fail, then the chance of you failing increases quite rapidly. So those are the three kind of major learnings I had from building businesses, on top of this ensuring that you yourself are a great founder, you build a great team, and you're solving a real problem. But let's talk about Korea. So we just set up here a couple of, it's about a year ago now. I think Gio is here, right? Gio is part of our team here. we started investing in companies in Korea. We invested in 16 companies so far. And we're very excited about Korea for a couple of different reasons. So, number one is you literally have some of the best talent in the world, right? Like Korea has built incredible technology. Right? Some of the best technology in the world is built here out of Korea. Whether it's chips, whether it's software, whether it's big ships, hardware. You build incredible technology here, and some of the world's best engineers live here in Korea. So that's number one. The other thing with Korea is you have built incredible global brands, right? In anything from electronics like Samsung, to Hyundai, to LG, but also to popular culture, right? BTS was at the Singapore airport the other day, and the whole country went crazy. So you have this incredible ability to build global brands within fashion, within music, within popular culture, within technology. So you have the best talent in the world, ability to build really, really exciting brands that people go crazy about. And then you have a very hardworking and ambitious culture. Right? Korea is, I think, the hardest working country in the world. People put in more hours to get more things done. People want to take that step up, are serious about achieving things. So we're in this country where you have the best people in the world, you have the ability to build global brands, and a very hardworking, ambitious culture. So there's no reason why Korea shouldn't be the world's largest or one of the world's largest tech startup ecosystems. I think the reason why it isn't that yet is because a lot of people have been focused on building companies for Korea, right? While I think going forward, one should think about building companies for the world. Like build more companies for the world. Maybe even more unicorns, even more really exciting businesses. And that's one of the things we want to do with Antler. We want to help invest into great founders who want to build for the world, build global businesses, build the next Spotify, build the next big biotech company, whatever it is, to build the next big global business out of here. We want to help invest into and help build. This is our team here. Gio and Gabriel runs it. If you want to apply to Antler, you can just scan the QR code there. You can click apply, and hopefully we'll have the ability to invest into you. We invested in 16 companies here already. The plan is to invest into another 100 by the end of 2025. We have a 700 advisory network across the globe, 700 people across the globe that can help you with almost anything. Some of the names you can see here are famous names that will help you in building your business on top of our own team. We also have a 8-person full-time team here, 220 full-time people globally. So really, really want to help you build the next generation great business. So we can be helpful in that journey. Reach out, apply. We've backed so many great people right now. These people up here, for example, they just raised a serious amount of money building a pan-Indonesian business that is now growing to the rest of Southeast Asia. The people here also have been a global business. These guys, they literally within a matter of 4 months launched across 3 continents. So we've been able to back really great people and hope to have the ability to back you as well. If you want to learn more about Antler, you can go to antler.co, that's our website. And if you want to follow some of our activities, I literally post about everything we do almost every second or third day. So you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn. You also reach out if we can be helpful with anything. And then you can find me on Instagram. So that's how you can reach me. With that, I wanted to save a little bit of time at the end to take any questions. And I think, remember, as you're thinking about building your business or you're investing into businesses, remember what makes a great founder and hone those skill sets. Remember how to build a great team. Remember how to identify that you're solving a real problem and iterate your business model. Remember to front load. Remember to hustle, learn to hustle. And remember that failure is not an option. And then remember to apply it to Antler.co. Thanks a lot all for coming and listening. And we'll open up for, I think we have about 8 minutes to do any questions if anyone has any questions. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you hear me. So really inspiring speech, thank you. And I just wanted to ask you, when is the best time in your career to join Antler?
Yes, so interestingly, there's really no correlation between your age and the likelihood of building a very successful business. It's just less people who are older try to build great business. So less people when they're 50, 60 try to go out and build a great startup, but the people who do actually end up doing so. There are great businesses being built by people who come straight out of college, straight out of masters. On average, most of the founders we back, they're about in their early 30s. So they have about 5 to 10 years worth of experience. But we backed people who dropped out of college. We backed people who are older. We care less about age. We care more about having the right characteristics to be a great founder. Like, do you have that spike? Do you have that drive? Do you have that grit? And the great thing is you can see that innovation is actually quite age agnostic. If one is trying to solve more complex problems, for example, B2B problems and so on, that are a bit more complex, then it helps to have experience within the industry that you're trying to solve those problems within. But there's so many interesting problems to solve out there, so many great opportunities that, yeah, we encourage everyone to apply. But on average, people have about 5 to 10 years worth of experience. Thank you. There's a question back there, I think.
Firstly, thank you very much for your speech. So my name is George Choi, the Executive Director of COMEUP 2022.
Great.
Actually, I made a lot of effort to bring you to our event, so thanks a lot for accepting our invitation first. So thank you very much. Well, I have actually 2 questions. So
yeah.
Firstly, basically everybody knows that now, the startup investment has been frozen. So this is really getting tougher and tougher for startup founders to raise the funds, particularly given the really global economic crisis. So I think this is really something that startup founders has never experienced before. So I think a lot of startup founders are really required to be equipped with a very new skill set, capacity in terms of survival. So I just wonder if also Antler has some kind of change in terms of selection criteria, program process, in order to give this kind of new skill set, capacity on how to survive in this kind of really hard times. And secondly, also I'd like to know how do you think Antler program can contribute to helping startup ecosystem still grow and thriving through this global economic crisis?
Yeah, great, good questions. So thanks a lot, and thank you, of course, for inviting me and having me here. It's been great. So I'll talk about Antler first. So in terms of Antler, we think now is the best time ever to invest because we're just after a peak. The companies that are being created today will benefit from the next decade's worth of growth. So Antler did 200 investments in 2021. 2022 will make almost 400. So we'll double our investment pace. And we made 16 investments in Korea. So we are serious about investing now. We think now is a much better time to invest in new startups than last year. If you talk to other investors in the tech space, they are also investing. There's capital available out there. But what happened a bit the last couple of years is people invested into things that didn't really make sense, at valuations that didn't really make sense. So I think, if you're building something that doesn't make sense to build with a team that doesn't make sense to build it, you won't get that at capital. So first of all, you need to have a good co-founder team that is working on building something real. And then you will get the capital. There's tons of capital there. Actually, globally, in terms of seed activity, the amount of capital deployed is up 11%. There are rounds being done everywhere. Seed, Series A, B, C. Valuations are slightly lower than before. But that matters less, right? You just need the capital to be able to grow. The other thing investors are looking more for than they have previously is they're over-indexing on profitability versus growth, which is therefore incredibly important that if you're building a business that you can show the path to better unit economics and see that how, as you grow, your profitability gets better. And that's actually quite different from a hardware company, a deep tech company, B2B company, B2C company. It's different the way you do that across different types of models. And yeah, we work closely with our founders to ensure that they are on that right path. So that's one thing we do with our portfolio. In terms of helping to build the ecosystem, I think there are so many incredible early stage investors in Korea that we really respect and we cooperate with. I think we have a really kind of thriving ecosystem here with COMEUP and other great institutions. I think what we really want to contribute with is just backing a number of new founders from day one, right? Or day zero, as we call it. Like we work with founders typically 2 to 3 months before they incorporate their business. So thereby we help kind of generate a whole new set of companies. And the other thing is, since we have offices across 25 countries, 700 advisors, relationships with a lot of VCs all across the globe, we hope to also help with global expansion for startups we invest into. So anyone who wants to expand into the rest of Asia, the US, Europe, Africa, wherever it might be, we really want to help with that expansion. So I think, net where we can be helpful is, for founders who are just getting started, finding co-founders, iterating the business model, access to competencies, access to global markets, and that's why we're here. I truly believe this thing I talked about earlier, right? Like you have some of the world's best talent here, ability to build truly global brands, and you're really the most kind of hardworking, ambitious people in the world. So very excited to do that. Thank you for the question. I think we have 1 minute and 20 seconds if there's one more. Yeah, okay. And if anyone has other questions, just reach out on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever. I'll try to answer them, or just come up to me after. Yes.
Thank you, Magnus. We'll definitely take you up on that LinkedIn offer. I have a quick question here. My name is Shiva Vamik, coming from the United States. The Oriental countries are typically known for their wisdom, as opposed to the material orientation of the Western world. So you spoke a lot about all the good attributes and the values that the Western world has contributed to today's economy and our social system. What level of balance would you envision for the Oriental folks, and specifically in Korea or Japan or Taiwan, that level of wisdom versus the interjection of the Western influence? How do you balance that in running operations?
Well, so I think like 60% is the same, right? And then, but as I mentioned earlier, I think that look at Korea, look at China now, look at Japan, like incredibly ambitious, incredibly hardworking people. Look at leadership in technologies, right? If you look at any iPhone, for example, I think something like 80-90% of what's in the iPhone is made here in Asia. The world's leading competitor to Apple is Samsung, which is based here out of Korea. This kind of raw intelligence, ambition, and excitement about making the world a better place and moving civilization forward, I think is what's going to make Asia the powerhouse of global innovation over the next few years. So I think we're all here at the right time, doing the right thing. And we're super excited to support that. Personally, I don't live that all that far away. I live in Singapore myself, and we've been I think across Asia now, we backed about 250 new companies over the last few years, and that's just the beginning. So yeah, very excited to support as many of you as possible, and hope to be as helpful as I can in anyone's journey. Thank you for waking up early and coming in all the way here to listen to the first session of the day. And yeah, hope to see a lot of you around Antler and support you as much as we can. Thank you for coming.